Good morning, Okotoks! Robin Williams. That was just perfectly said. So page 15, actually no. Podcast people, you missed this one, so we'll get it back for you. I'm just going to let you pause it. So this is, what page is this, guys? Oh, what I didn't tell you is don't miss that first question. It's easy to go right to the chart. I already warned you about that last week. This is page 12 in your handouts, podcast people. Did you guys remember to do that? Because you don't want to, yeah, I know you know how to do it. Just don't miss it, because my eyes go right to the chart. So don't forget to do A. And then we also talked about to make sure you, so pause that, podcast people, if you don't want to move up yet. And then make sure you label the line and draw arrows at the end. This looks like it's y equals -0.5x squared plus 8. And then answer all the questions that follow. We particularly spent some time on h, where you can see that the square root of 9 is not equal to 3. What? Shocking. I'm going to assume my grade 8 teacher is equal to, throw your chocolate bar in there. Sprinkle it in there. Yum. Equals positive -3, so there. All right, let's go to page 15, x, y intercepts. Yay, let's go page 15. How's that? So I like when something works out. Oops. So we need to know, well, right there, stop sign guy is perfect. I don't need to write down anything, know that. When you find the x-intercept, put y equal to 0, solve for x. Find the y-intercept, put x equal to 0, solve for y. You're done. Solving is grade 7, grade 8. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is write down y equals 0 for the x-intercept and rewrite the equation. You don't have to every time, but let's do it for a couple times. And wherever we see a y, we put 0. So 3 times y equals 3 times 0. 3 times 0 is 0. And now you have to solve that, and I'm going to coach you how to solve it, not solving it for you. This is an add or subtract first question. How I teach it anyway. Before you get x by itself, you got to get 5x by itself. So you got to do the opposite operation of add 15 to both sides. And then 5x means 5 times x. You do the opposite of multiply by 5. So I'll let you finish that off. And make sure you show your work on how you solve that. This is how to guess a check. 3 years in high school. You have to show your work 3 years in high school. Alright, bravo. So subtract 15 on both sides. Sorry, it's hard to write down small on smartboard. And now this is 5x, so 5 times x, divide both sides by 5. And don't lose your negative sign. You might get -3 equals x. Alright, that's not an x-intercept. That's a line, a vertical line at 3 to the left. You have to write it as a point, please. Write your x-intercept as a point, otherwise it's not an x-intercept, it's a vertical line. Okay, x equals -3 is a vertical line like that. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an x-intercept, so you need to put -3, 0. Don't forget that part. You won't get full marks unless you put it as a point. And remember, that's the last thing we did on Friday. Remember all the x, y intercepts we put? There's -3, 0, 5, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. Bravo. Alright, same thing here. Y-intercept, x equals 0. Wherever you see an x, you put 0. So 5 times x becomes 5 times 0, which just cancels, and you have to solve that. So solve that, please. And I'll give you even less time to do this one, because it's a one-stepper. And don't forget to do the last part, or you're going to lose marks. You have to show it as a point, please. 15 divided by 3 equals 5, and don't put 5, 0. A y-intercept, x equals 0, and the y is the y. Okay, now we can easily graph this line now. You don't have to, I'm just showing you what you did before. That's that line. All you need is 2 points to draw a line. And you would label it, give me the name of the line, if you had to. And that will be more linear relations unit in the next unit, and then this unit. Okay. I'm trying to change my mind on what I'm going to do with this one. X-intercept means y equals 0. Wherever you see a y, you put 0. And if you want to just start by putting x squared plus 0 squared, that's fine. 0 squared is just 0. So go ahead and solve this. It's a little trickier. Finish it off for me and write them as x-intercepts. Done already? Right? Yeah. Let's talk about it today. There it is. What's the square root of 16? What? Yes, 2 x-intercepts. Put 4, you lose half your marks because you missed one of 2 x-intercepts. Go ahead and do the y-intercept, please. Next, newbie. A wrapper. Do some math wrap for us, Kurt. Or else we thought. Word. Y-intercept x equals 0. So we got 0 squared plus y squared equals 16. You can square root this and just put positive negative 4. Okay? Podcast people, I don't think you heard, but Kurt was math rapping. He taught us a song to memorize x-intercepts. Y equals 0, and write your points at the end. It's going like this, but you can't see. What's next? I think that's the only 2 there is. All right, let's go ahead and do this group work. And I'm going to let you choose whether you want an easy question or a medium question or a hard question right now. So for this one, you can do this one, or this one, or this one. And careful, that's an unusual question. Usually I'll ask you to find both the x and y intercepts. This one just says find the y intercept. Okay? So go ahead and do one of those. You can avenge. What's that? I know. Just write them down. Write one of them down. Whichever one you want to do. And find the y-intercept. And it goes in that order. I think it does anyway. Yeah, easy, medium, hard. intercept x equals 0. I don't know why I'm writing these. I can just show you. Okay, another 30 seconds and I'll put the answer on the board. And here and there. Well, one, they didn't write it as a point, so boo for them. Did anybody get 0, -15? Or 0, 6? Or 0, -30? All good? Don't get the wrong sign because I can't give you marks for 6, a -6 if the answer is 0, 6, and even worse if you graph in it, that's going to turn your parabolas into lightning bolts and spaghettis and things you don't want to see when you're writing a test or quest. Okay, no questions? We're good? Okay, let's do same thing, except for if you did an easy question, you can't do an easy question again. So we're now, again, 459. We're now doing the same thing, B, C, or E. For number 2, find the x-intercept. Not sure what is there, y-intercept? It's a question I'll have to wonder my entire life. Do an easy, medium, or hard x-intercept. When you're done, because some of you are, go ahead and work on the homework. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to start x-y-intercept page. Any questions right now? Just make sure you write them as an x-y-intercept at the end. here we go for the, oops, I don't want to touch that, for the X intercepts. So I'm just going to put my little brackets around that. Except for it should be 6040. And you may get positive and negative trees there. And I don't want you to do that. That's not math notation. So just take the 5 extra seconds to write 2 x-intercepts, please. Okay? And again, make sure you label them pointy. I think we're going to leave it there. That was about 5. Let's go back, go to the front of top of page 17, and you can see this handout's so thick because one question takes the whole page. Oops. That is gone. Okay, here we go. So let's do the first 2 together. We have an equation, the value of a car. So we bought, I guess, 12 years ago. We came from Bermuda to Saskatchewan. Don't get a car in Bermuda. It's very, very expensive. Very. So everyone rides a woman or a man scooter, vroom, or a motorcycle. I had both. And when we got here, we had to buy 1 car or 2 cars because there's 2 of us and we work at different schools. But that's a pretty big financial commitment right off the bat. So luckily, my dad had a man scooter that he sold me, and I drove a man scooter until the snow fell anyway. So it was a nice break. I can't remember. I think we got a second vehicle. No, I think we were living at Mesa, so I didn't need one. I just walked to school. Another summer of man scootering. And then we got our second vehicle. But we had to choose what vehicles to get. So my research, and I did a lot of it, it was either a Honda Civic or a Toyota something. Corolla maybe? I can't remember. I think there's a better one than the Corolla. And they were expensive, but they were the best for resale and they're most reliable, which is what I wanted. So we went with the Civic, and we've on our second Civic now. And we went to a Honda Pilot, which got stolen on my dad's driveway. And we replaced that with a very sporty white minivan, which has been awesome with the kids. Who knows what a Caravan is? Anyone have a Caravan growing up? Rocks. Pretty much every rock star has one. And anyways, this formula is giving you, if you buy a new car, what's it going to be worth in 5 years, 10 years? So our Civic, which we bought for, actually was perfect. I think it was just over 20,000. It's exactly what I wanted. It wasn't brand new. It had 9,000 kilometers on it, and it had the extended warranty. Some elderly lady, all she did was drive it in Okotoks, and it wasn't even that much. It was like maybe drive to the grocery store when she needed to go. So it had nothing on it. We were very happy to get that, and I was surprised at the end. Maybe was it 2 years? No, it was last spring. What do you get? What do you ask for? It's worth like 2,000, but it's a Civic, so you can usually ask for maybe 3,500, which still isn't nearly enough because they said it could last another 10 years, but it's a tough one. At your age, at least when I was your age, you didn't have that much money. You had to kind of go with a very old vehicle and hope it didn't break down. And I got my first vehicle was a 1967 Ford Galaxy 500. It was a boat. It sounded like a jet when I drove it, and all I did was drive to a gas station because it just guzzled gas. And it was okay, but there was still too many repairs. The second one was the best. I was working at a restaurant and I bought a pizza delivery guy's car, which I know that's not a good thing to do in general because they want to drive fast to get their pizzas out, and I knew this guy drove fast for sure. But it was $400. So I bought 1971 Ford Maverick for $400, hoping it would break down right away. And it was the best car. I drove it for 2 years with 0 repairs, and I sold it for $700. It was just a blessing. Like when you're in high school, you don't want to spend too much money, you don't have money to spend. That was just a blessing. They could have easily bought 400 and didn't start the next day. It's just, that's kind of what you do with a car that's, well, in that case, 20 years old-ish. Okay, let's do this one. We're going to sub in the input, output. So which one's the input, the X or the Y? Yeah, so let's just put X, Y here. You don't have to. But it does, you do need to know that that's the X and the Y intercept, just like any normal graph. But in case, if I say what, find the, I'm not going to find the X intercept, I'll find the T intercept. Okay, or whatever else, the V intercept. I'm not going to ask you for the X intercept, it's the same thing. Plug this in, so 20,000, subtract 1,250 times 0, what does that equal? 20,000, so you need the point, 0, 20,000, what? And then if we go after 2 years, how much is it worth? Anyone do that in their head real quick? Hopefully everyone can do it in their head real quick. How much is that? What? Oh. Yep. 17,500. So you're subtracting 2,500. So that's the graph. On the graph, 2 to the right and 17,500. That's the first time in my life I've ever put a comma in, and that was an accident. On a number, go ahead and do after 4 years and 6 years, and plot these points on the graph, please. And you can do this, and you can do that. I think you can finish the rest. Try to answer all the other questions. Unless it's together. I think from here on you can answer questions about something that is going to be affecting your life. When you buy a car, the depreciation of the car. One thing about boats, I've been starting to buy boats and bought a boat last year. Boats are pretty darn good. You can buy a boat for 30 grand and probably use it for 5 years and sell it for 25 grand. It's crazy how boats are retaining their value. Hi. Yep. Okay, podcast people, pause, and we'll unpause when we're cracking. Here are the table of values. Trying to fit it all in, but I don't want to get too much. I have to reduce that to 75 so we can see the graph all at once. Again, don't miss a question. You don't want to skip over. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure you understand what this is, this point. It means that you purchased the car for $20,000, and it has 0 years on it. So you can put value of the new car, you put purchase price, all that would be good. What does T16 mean, or T-intercept of 16? Right here. Well, that means something a bit weird. It means your car is worth $0, which is not going to be entirely true. It could be worth worse than that. If you got 500 things wrong with it, no one's going to even want to take it. But there's also cars for kids and most likely you'll be able to sell for some desperate high school student who will offer you a red bill. But it's interesting how it works. It's, again, I did buy a brand new car. I never thought I ever would buy a brand new car. I always thought I would buy a 1-year-old car. But we bought a new car because they're giving such good deals that we didn't have to pay any interest. I think we paid 1.5%, 1% interest or 1.5% interest. So basically, got a brand new car and didn't have to pay interest because I can't stand paying interest. The first cars we bought were paid in full. As the first time I ever had a car loan was on the van. I think we had a $5,000 loan, but that was more because he wanted us to. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gave us a price break because he said it's such an awesome rate that you have to take it because it's just a shame that if you don't take it. So we did. Now I got another car loan, but it's not bad because it's very little interest. So I don't know. It was worth. What was it worth? Anyways, if it was worth $31,500, I'm only paying $32,500 over 5 years. So it's fine. I can handle $200 a year for interest. Use the graph again. Don't show your work on this one. Use your graph after 3 years. So you go to 1, 2, 3, all the way up. How much is it worth? About 16,250. Again, ruler is going to help with that one. You're not going to have a lot of leeway as far as the answer goes. And use the formula to verify that, and you'll get the exact same answer. Use the graph. When's it $5,000? You go to $5,000 and go straight down. Looks like 12 years to me. Half the purchase price. That's another way of saying when's it worth 10 grand. And there you go. There's the grand finale, the conclusion, the H sentence. Awesome. You can tell by the formula it goes down $1,250 per year. And I don't know, I don't think that's an unreasonable question for nowadays and for car depreciation. When is the only time a car doesn't depreciate? Okay, antique or a clapper car, you can invest in a car like my 1967 Ford Galaxy that I drove around in, probably worth $5 million right now, wherever it is. And if I signed the bumper, it's $10 million. It could also be in a scrap heap. That was a fun car. All right, what's next? Next. Any questions on that, you guys? Use the graph. Don't have to show your work. Use the formula. You do have to show your work. You got more homework. I will talk about the one word I just read on page 18. Go to page 18, 4D. And what do you think? What do you think interpolate means? Did we not have that word on the last one? No, we would have said it differently. Okay, so interpolate. This one, next page. Right here means that you're estimating within the graph. And X means you're outside the graph. Okay, so the graph is here, and you've only got this much, that's interpolating. But if your graph is here, and I say what's the the antique car worth after 40 years, then you can just go off the graph, and that's what they want you to do. Both of them just mean estimate, okay? So don't get hung up on the word. I'm not going to ask you the exact definitions on the test. Just know what fancy words mean. It means find the value after, what is this? The cost, probably? Cost of a 2,000 kilometer journey. All right, I think I'm going to give you another 5 minutes to do page 18 and 19 and 20, and we'll get to domain and range. So take 10 minutes to start that homework, and we're going to have the quiz. Let me figure it out. Probably Wednesday or Thursday. It'll be a quest. Probably Thursday. So we've got page 16 for homework. That's XY intercepts. And then questions like this are on page 18, 19. And half of 20. So 10 minutes. Fire up. A couple questions down, and a couple of questions actually means 2 pages down. Pause, pause, pause. Podcast people, you got 10 minutes to work on homework. Just to make sure you got that, podcast people, page 16 is homework, page 18, 19, and the top half of page 20. You're welcome. All right, let's start this super fun concept by filling in the blanks. Take review for XY intercept. And then reading the following words. And you can also read up to page 21. We kind of briefly touched on domain. Domain are all the possible values of the input or the independent variable, and it tells you domain means X. All possible values of X. Range means all the possible values of Y. So are these guys? Gives you the meaning, the understanding of what domain means. Anybody, can anyone reword that? How far right and left the graph goes? What does that mean? I want a fancy word. Not even fancy. It's a math word. Yeah, so that's horizontally. Good job. And if something you've done with the horizontal width, what it, oh, I just called you. Horizontally, good job. Or the width of the graph is the domain, how wide it goes, how far left and right and horizontal. That's horizontal. And similarly, the range is up and down, so that's the height or the vertical distance of the graph. All the different values. Here's the easiest one. Domain and range of ordered pairs. So the domain equals all the X values. And this always goes X, Y, so it's 1, 0, but you want to put them in numerical order from lowest to highest. So the domain for this one would be -3, 0, 1, all the x coordinates of the points. That's the domain of those points. All the possible values of x. And similarly, all the values of y are the range. And if there's two values of 2, you don't have to tell me that the range is 2. It has a value of 2 twice. Just write it down once. So 2, 5, 8, 9. And then 2 again. So don't write that down again. So go ahead and do example 1b. Write down the domain and range of those ordered pairs, please. A big difference with points and lines. Most of your graphs I'm going to give you and ask you to find the domain and range are going to have lines connected. If they have points, like example 1, AB, and 2A, you're going to want to get all those right. Because they're less work than, unless higher level thinking questions, than example 2BC. Can someone give me the domain? Thank you. Squiggly line. Yes, you need squiggly lines. Practice your squiggly lines. It's so fun to say squiggly. Not so much fun to learn how to do these. It takes a while. David? -8, -3, 0, 2, and 3. Well, looks good to me. Check. Yep. Didn't miss one. Just after you do that, make sure you double check it to make sure you didn't miss one. And what's the range? And don't write down repeated numbers. Somebody, MT wins. 3 and 9, that's it. Check. Good? Okay. Agreed on that side of the room. That's all you do for points. Now what you could do here is you could write down all of these points, but it would be a pain in the butt. So I would advise you not to do that. Let's just look at it as, oh, I think I can do this. No, maybe I can't. Let's just look at this with you as your x coordinate. So your domain is going to be all the points. How far left is this point? Don't put -5, it's close, but wear your glasses if you have to. You don't want to put -5 there. So -4, and then this one, x coordinate would be -3. So you don't have to write them all down. You can just write down -4, -3, -2, -1, and you can't write this all the way to 4. And you can't write -4 to 4 because that's wrong. It's got nothing to do with the in-between points. It's all the whole numbers. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so how many x coordinates do these points have? Lots. The range is a little easier, but a little trickier to see. See if you can do the range. How far up and down do those points go on the y-axis? And now the range is the y. What are the y coordinates of those points? So does anyone think about it? And we'll ask Maria in a minute. Hopefully I'm decent. Yep. Shoot, Maria.
One, two, three.
Perfect. Yeah. So these points are 0 up. These points are 1 up. These points are 2 up. These points are 3 up. And this one point is 4 up. So that's the range. There's no points that are 3.5 up. So you have to put them with squiggly lines and commas. Hi.
So for B, would you, because there's only 2 points on the graph, would you only deal with those 2? And then C, you wouldn't deal with any of them?
No, all these points are on the graph.
Okay.
Good question. All right, let's rock and roll. 50% chance, so we're talking more. Let's go to this B question, because now we don't have points, we have a line. So this means that this graph goes from all the way from this point to this point and every single point in between. The domain is from -4 to 4. Okay, all the numbers in between, -4 and 4, we just have to know how to write that in set notation. So first of all, domain means all the values of x. So you have to write down x slash. X slash means all the values of x such that, that's what that one symbol means. All the values of x such that, and now we gotta write down using inequalities all the numbers between -4 and 4. How do we write that? Not too bad. You write down from -4 to 4, and you write down x value in the middle, and then you write less than or equal signs. Where all the numbers are real, x is an element of all real numbers. That means it could be any number, any fraction and decimal in between those numbers. Okay, so that is how you write down all the numbers between -4 and 4. So write it down, it'll get easier, but that's what you need to know. That's called set notation. Let's write that down, set notation. If you're talking about domain, you got x's. If you're talking about range, you got y's. So let's see if you can do the y's now. All the values of y's on this graph. Do the range with that similar notation. So all the values of y such that y is in between 0 and 4, where y is all real numbers, any fraction and decimal in between 0 and 4. So everyone say all the values of y such that. If you want to write all that down, it'd be worse. So let's write down y slash. Between 0 and 4 means between 0 and 4. That means all the values between 0 and 4 for y. But you have to say that y is an element of all real numbers, which includes all the decimals and fractions in between. So yes, that is harder than A. I think we agree with that. Now let's look at C. Before I teach you C, let's just see what your brain tells you for the domain and range. You don't have to write anything down, just look at C. The difference is it's got arrows. Okay, we're now on this one. The domain. All the values of x. Where's the values of x? X-axis goes left to right. How far does this graph go left?
all values more or less than 0?
What's that?
You say for x, you do all values more or less than 0.
Yeah. So how far does it go left? Infinite. Good. Exactly. Perfect word. How far does this graph go right? Well, it keeps going right forever. So what's the domain of this graph? All the numbers in the whole wide world. How do we write down all the numbers in the whole wide world? What's that? You're one step ahead. You're one lesson ahead of us. Infinite is good. We'll do interval notation tomorrow. Yep. Very good. Yep. So all the values of x, where x is a real number. That means all the numbers in the whole wide world, right? So you like those questions? They're done pretty quick. They're a lot easier than B. So all the values of x, where x is a real number. That means all positive, negative numbers that aren't imaginary. We'll be doing the negative infinity fun stuff tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about the range, how far up and down it goes, or the height of it. How far down does this graph go? Everyone? Forever down or infinite down? Okay, so it goes forever down. How far up does it go? Everyone? 4 is the highest point. So we need to know how to write in math notation all the numbers from 4 and below, or all the numbers up to 4. Anybody know what we could do for that? We're going to go all the values of y such that. I want to have a guess for the green part. Very good. Y is less than or equal to 4, where y is an element of all real numbers. Okay, that's what this is. All the numbers, 4 and less, are part of the range. Now, when it's pointing down, that's going to give you a less than symbol. Or if a parabola is pointing down, you're going to have a range going less than or equal. If a parabola is pointing up, you're going to have a point -7 up. That means greater than or equal. Which is usually what you're going to have is a parabola, not these two lines. Question or discussion? Oh, yes, good idea. Everyone stretch. Touch your toes. Oh, touch my knee. That's as close as I can get. Okay, let's do never mind. We got 1 minute. That's a good place to end. We'll come back with example 3. And then we'll talk interval notation, which is -infinity to infinity. Square brackets or circle brackets? Dun, dun, dun. To be continued. God bless on a Sunday. Ha, ha, ha.